Revelation chapter, I believe that's chapter 9. I just want to get straight to the point. Uh, 15th verse. And the four angels were loosed, because you have four angels that are holding back the winds from the four corners of the earth. The winds represent the destruction. And why were they holding back the winds? Because the Lord said, hold the winds back until the servants of the Lord, which are the Israelites, the elect, are sealed. It says, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. The third part of men represents Esau, because you have three classifications of men. You have the sons of God, which are the Israelites. You have the sons of men, which are the nations. And you have the sons of the wicked, which are the Edomites. And the earth right now is being governed by the third part of men, or the sons of the wicked. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who are the wicked? The Edomites. It says, and the number of the army, this army is speaking about the missiles. You could also read about this in the book of Joel, the 2nd chapter. That great army that the Lord was speaking about is speaking about the missiles. It says, of horsemen were 200,000, right? 200,000 represents 200 million. And somebody said, well, they don't have that many missiles. Yeah, but the warheads, there are multiple warheads in every missile. And you cannot be a fool enough to think that these devils will tell you every missile that they do have. So lock it for a minute. There's weaponry that these devils have that they're not talking about, that they're not showing. When you see movies and you see different technology coming out, you better believe that technology is already old, at least 20 years old. Because after around 20 years, that's when they start revealing what they have or what new things they have in their arsenal, which is really old technology. But the new stuff they don't show until later on. It says, and I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, because when the Apostle John saw them, he saw them as horses in the vision. It says, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, meaning when he looked at the missile, he saw breastplates. He saw them like they were on fire, because remember, when a missile shot, it shot with the propulsion from one part of the earth to the other. It'll go outside of the atmosphere, and when anything enters back into the earth's atmosphere, it's set on fire. It says, and of jacinth and brimstone, right? Because that's what they're bringing, fire and brimstone. The same way the Lord rained fire and brimstone down upon Sodom, Gomorrah, and the other cities. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, right? Because a lion's head is part, besides the lion's paw, his head, his teeth are the strongest part of him. This is why the main attack is either done by their paw or by their mouth. So when he saw them, he said he saw them as heads of lions. And when you see the fire coming off of them, it kind of looks like a lion's mane. And I remember years ago, Elder Pastor had gone over this. It says, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. The mouth is what? That's the warhead. Because the most devastating part of the missile is the smallest part of the missile, which is the warhead. The whole propulsion, when you look at a missile, right? When you look at a missile, right? Let's see if we can do it like this. Let's see if it'll break it down. This is the warhead, but you have the propulsion system. Oh, here we go. See, this is the propulsion system, the whole rocket, and each stage of it has has fuel in it. And as it goes up, they start to detach from each other. This is a very complicated process, because each part of these propulsion, packs have to have fuel in them, and they have to detach at a certain point. So it goes up, part of it detach. It goes up, part of it detach, all the way till you get to the warhead. The warhead, once the warhead enters the inner atmosphere, this is where the main part of the devastation is at. All of this, the biggest part of the rocket is just for propulsion. The part that hurts and destroys the most are these warheads, and that's what we read in here. Out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. And remember, the Apostle Paul heard the number. He didn't sit there and count each individual 200 million. He heard the number. And that's why he was able to write it down, because it would be impossible for him to count 200 million missiles or 200 million warheads. It says, by these three was the third part of men killed, right? What is the third part of men? The Edomites. And why does it say they were killed? A lot of them are going to die, but also their system is going to go down using the same technology that they use to puff at people. This is why the scriptures say that the nations are saying, art thou become weak as we? By the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which is the radiation. When you read the 8th chapter, the brimstone and the radiation would be known as wormwood. And it made the waters bitter, not bitter to taste. Oh, this is some bitter ass wine. Inside joke. But, bitter as far as contaminated. Because if you eat something bitter, bitters are good for you. You have your bitters, and then you have your sours and things of that nature. Those are good for you. But if you drink something that makes you drop dead, it's not bitter in that sense. It's bitter in a contaminated sense, which issued out of their mouths. See, for their power is in their mouth, right? That's the missile. That's the warheads, and in their tails. Why is it in their tails? Because the tail is the propulsion system that propels it from one part of the earth to the other. And what drives it? That fire. You see, when they launch a nuclear missile from the silo, that's what comes out. Let's see. There you go. This is the arrow, the missile, and this is the propulsion. I'm sorry. This is the silo. This is the nest. This is where it comes out of. You can see here the door opens up, and they're getting ready to fire it. And there's times when, if you look, they'll show you detonation. Let me just type in detonation, see what comes up. That's one. There we go. See the missile firing out. You see the actual fire coming out of it. There you go. Boom. That's why it says their tails. Where is this coming out of? It's not coming out of the head of it. It's coming out of the tail. The fire is coming out the tail to propel it from one part of the earth to the other. And the heads, the reason why it speaks about the heads is because the heads also is what hurts. You can see another one here. And the two major strengths of the missile is the propulsion and the warheads. All right. So it says, for their power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents. And you see them, when they fly, they leave a trail behind them like a serpent, and had heads. And with them they do hurt, because the head is the missile, the biggest part of the missile doesn't do the hurting. The propulsion system doesn't do the hurting. What does the hurting is the smallest part of it, which is the head. Just like a serpent. The main problem with the serpent is their venom, their mouth, their head. All right, so let's leave it there. Let's move on. So Isaiah 54:16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. which is what? The missile. And I have created the waster to destroy, right? And the Lord gave them the ability to do these things.